are talking about the HP Microserver, the N40L. That's the one you and I both have. Comes with 2 gig of RAM. Although you can get a version with 4, and kind of wish now. Well, that wasn't the deal. The 249 deal here in the U.S. was for the 2 gig, and we both have that going. Well, that's cool. That's good to know, because I do plan at some point to use that SATA port as an OS drive, and so in fact, one of the things I'd like to see that is a SSD drive there sitting in top. That the cage holds a 3.5-inch DVD drive, but then it's got the standard 2.5-inch for the old days of the floppy right underneath it, and you can just drop. Isn't that right? Can't you just, or do they have cabling underneath there? Now I'm questioning myself.
Yeah, that's the right like underneath the 5.25-inch bay where the CD drive would go. There's a little slot there that you can probably fit a 3.5-inch, even a 3.5. For sure, you can fit a laptop drive, but I think you can fit a hard drive. But like you say, yeah, the power connections, because the 4 wires that come from the back plate come up, and they have the Molex connection, and then your power supply comes around the other side, and then they hook in there, and they have it sitting in that area there. But what I did manage to do, I did unplug them, and I actually fished them along the side of the case just above the power supply, and I kind of, it's a bit of a tight job, but you can actually fish it through the side of the case and then towards the and then get it like in the back in the corner case and plug them all in, so you could free up that space up front. But they just bring it to the front, and then they pull them out, they plug them in, and so they made it very simple. But they're actually just long enough that you can slide it in alongside of the case. So if you get it done that way, then you should be able to fit in a laptop drive or a 3.5-inch drive, and then that's it. Like you said, you wire that down to the bottom, and then it runs to the front of the case, and you have their SATA power connection there. Yeah, well, that gives me. Did I pull out the Dremel? Yeah.
No, you didn't need the Dremel for that.
No, but I was looking at, I took a look at that, because that's it. I had to pass that SATA cable, so it's like, okay, take the case. You take the you have to take the motherboard out, or else it's gonna be very hard for you to fish the wire down the back and then towards the front. So you got to take out the motherboard. So once you take out the motherboard, you're taking out, there's headers in the front. There's 2 USB headers, and then there's also the cable, for the drives, right? It's like a SAS cable. Yeah, you got some photos there. Cool.
Yeah, I brought that up so we can take a peek at it. Yeah.
See, there's a channel alongside the power supply there. Like you see, it's like raised on one side. You can actually fish the wires.
So you just disconnected those. Did you clip the? Do you have to clip the tie downs? I assume the tie straps.
Well, there was a tie wrap somewhere in the front there that I ended up cutting off. Yeah, just some tie wraps.
And then just fish them around. Yeah, because that's just your standard 2.5-inch drive bay, right? That's underneath that. And you could conceivably mount a SSD drive or a laptop drive in that spot, right? That was originally intended. That's an old floppy spot. It's funny how that design hasn't gone away at all. Right, and then you could, and you've seen this before, you could put one of those enclosures that takes 4 laptop drives and put them in a 3.5-inch bay, and you could add 5. I mean, you could add 5 new drives to that thing, right?
Oh yeah, some guy went mental. He put that. That's it. Since there's a PCI Express card or something or a slot there, he put a RAID controller card in there. So then that gave him a 4 or 8 drives. So, he put one of these. Where did I have that? I got one of those boxes lying around here, looking like a crazy man. Hang on.
John, while you're looking for that, John had asked if you had heard the rumors. I know you and I talked about this, about an upgraded CPU. I think we talked about that last week.
Yeah, N54L or something, eh?
Right. Basically, yeah, there you go. So that would allow you to put up to 5 more or 4 more drives in there.
Yeah, you have your 4 SATA and then the 2 Molex. You would have to put a cable to bring into there.
Yeah.
and then up front.
You need a card. You would have to add a half height SATA card to support all those additional SATA connections.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. The way they have it is it's a cable. It's like a SAS cable. So it's like one cable that plugs onto the motherboard, and then it goes towards the back, and then it splits into 4, and it goes to that back plate. So that one was a bit of a job to get that, to unhook that, because it has like a little locking mechanism on it.
Which one?
To unhook it from the motherboard there, the SATA cable.
Yeah, right.
4-in-1. I don't know if you unplugged yours there.
I did when I pulled the board out. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, so that was... I actually had to use a little pin, and I had to kind of bend the metal. There was tiny little place. I had to push the pin in so it would unhook and then get it out. I can just see a guy get pissed off and try to pull that off.
Yeah, you gotta be careful for sure. Right next to that is the onboard USB port that you can plug a flash drive into and add. You know what? I was at Best Buy this weekend and I bought an 8 gig flash drive USB 3 for $8.
Cool.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised for the big box store to get that pricing. It's a pretty good deal. Oh, John's going to do a live demo of it. While you're setting that up, John, let me just say, so on my microserver, what I've done is drive bay 1. That's the bay here. Since you're going to demo this, let me get the Skype. I'm going to put it solely on your. So as you look at John's box there, from all the way to the left, that first bay for me is Windows 7, and so when that's plugged all the way in, I can boot up Windows 7, and then what I do is pull that and plug in bay 2, and that's Windows Home Server 2011, the one to the right of that, and then I have the other two have data drives that both Windows 7 and 2011 see. They're configured to run with 2011, but they Windows 7 can see them. Yeah, pull that out and show the. That's real
so that's
easy.
What it is. Yeah, you screw it. They give you. See here, once you take the top off, then the door very easily comes off. Then you could see over here on the plate there. They line up all the screws for you here, and then they give you a little an Allen key type thing. And to tighten the screws, and then here they give you 4 screws. They're a little bit fatty. These are the guys that screw into the CD drive, because the CD drive actually locks into like in the mechanism. Like you put the screws in, then you put them in, and you push it back, and then there's a locking guy here. Again,
I see how you fish the wires.
There's these channels along the side here.
Right.
Yeah. And so it locks in there. But you see how the power cable there, see your picture there, the power cables were down in here.
Right.
And I fished them around.
Did you do that so you could put a drive in there? Or?
Well, just to empty that place out. Yeah, I might put a drive in there or whatever. But I just wanted to see if it would reach, if it would be a bit
That's good to know, though, John. Thanks for doing that.
And also, if I take the Dremel to it, it's like, I don't want to cut any wires.
If you take the Dremel to it.
Yeah.
You can. If you go to Newegg and you look at it front facing, you can really see the power supply, and then you can really see that SATA cable that comes up through it, and gives you an idea of the placement of that. It's very tight. As I pull that motherboard out, there's 2 screws down on the bottom that you pull out, and then that motherboard just comes out, and it slides out on a tray, real nice. You kind of start unplugging things as you start pulling the board out. At least that's what I do. So you pull it out a little bit, unplug a few things, pull it out a little bit more, unplug a few more things. The power connector to the motherboard is on that right-hand side there. John, one of the challenges I had was I had a half-height USB 3 Buffalo USB 3 card that I put in there. And installing those cards is a little bit of a challenge because you mount them in the board first. Then you got to slide the board back in past the cables and such, right? Yeah. And if that board gets hit or catches on something, it'll come loose from from its connector. And so you gotta make sure it slides all the way back unimpeded. And then in the back, there's a little clip there that
you got a clip here that you pushed it down and then out of the way. So that's it. So this drops, because what happens? That's it. You have those like you said, those half height guys that you can screw down to the case here. So if the card is actually, let's say now you have a card installed and you want to take the motherboard. Well, if you're on this side pulling the motherboard out, it's being held in place by here. So you have to remember, drop this guy out of the way. Make sure that these screws are not holding anything back. And then, then what you were saying there, you got to make sure. So that's the power cable. You get that out of the way. You loosen those two thumb screws like you said. Then you can start to slowly pull on the or hang on, I'm going to have to move the cables.
It's tight, that's for sure.
Yeah. There's a cable for the light, for the light up here on the top. And then the other two cables are for the four USB drives. They're split. See, so now that'll start to come out a bit. Then you have the fan connection. So now I'll take off the fan header. I'll take off. My hands are in the way. The yellow USB guy, the white USB header. What else is going on here? Yeah, then there's some kind of weird black cable. I forget what that one was for. I think that comes up because this guy is actually a light. It's the HP light. You see it.
Yeah, right. It's the blue one that you see.
Yeah, you see it here in the front of the case. It lights up. So
right. Yep. Yeah, I am recording all this, John. Both video and audio.
See, now you have this header here, right? Let me see. You see this header right here?
Yeah.
So that's the guy this is like the Ford one. So instead of bringing like 4 SATA connections to the front, it brings it all in one cable. And you have a little locking guy that you push over here and you pull it out, but this guy don't want to come out.
Yeah, it's a little stiff for sure. And John, that's the same if you had a Rocket RAID card or something. That's the same kind of SATA connector that would be on one of those RAID cards.
Yeah,
those are nearly identical.
I think that's like a proprietary thing. See, so I'll use a little pin here.
Oh, that's a good idea. Put that in there and pull that out. You really want to be careful. That's probably the most dangerous for me. That was probably one of the most dangerous maneuvers to get that thing pulled out.
Yeah, because even that little pin, that's like it's got a little pressure, a little metal thing that you push on to get it out. You push it in, but it seems it doesn't go in deep enough. Like it's like you're pressing it, and it's not doing anything. So.
Just pull out the Dremel, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little chore to get that thing out, that's for sure. And it's in the way of when you're installing a card. So, what you do is you pull the board all the way out, install your half-height card, slide that back in about halfway, then you can start reinstalling the cables into it and kind of keep sliding it in, cable. At the same time, you need to make sure that half-height card doesn't catch on the back, because if it's too low, it'll catch and push itself out of the car, out of its slot. And then once you've done that, of course, you've got to pull everything back out again. So that is one of the drawbacks, is you have to be, when you reassemble it, you really have to be very, very careful. I actually took like a ruler and slid it in right by the power supply on the left side there to get it all the way across, and then I applied pressure on both sides to make sure that card was fully seated.
Okay, so now that's it. See, so it sits on the tray. Something else is holding it in.
That one's a hard one to get out too. That the motherboard one, the power and connector, that 24-pin connector.
Yeah, and see, that's it. That's the 24. Like you said, it's a 24-pin one. So, because some of the power supplies have just 20, right? And then usually the 4-pin is like it's a separate wire, and you plug it somewhere else in the motherboard. They got the whole 24 on the one guy there. Okay. So nothing's holding it in the back there. Now let me see what's good.
Hey, this might be the first live disassembly of a microserver ever.
Good day.
That's pretty good. You're hearing it here.
Yeah. If you don't like microservers, you just got to bear with us now.
Yeah. If you don't, you should. They're a good little box. I do, if this rumor is true, I would like the 54L. I mean, that would be, I'm sure it's going to be more expensive, but I would. John, we were going to talk while you're pulling that apart. We were going to talk before Dave cut the show short. There are currently 2 microserver deals at the moment going on. One of them is for $299. It comes with a 60 gig hard drive out at Newegg, and that's not a bad little deal. I think I would have preferred to pay $299 and get that SSD than to pay the $249, and they threw in 2011, which I really didn't need.
Yeah.
So that would have been a good buy. That's currently going on right now.
Yeah, because what is originally that you have the price there? What is that? It's an OCZ 60 gig, right? So it's ordinarily how much? And then
yeah, let me look it up here real quick. Oh, I have the wrong link in there. One sec here. Let me somebody throw that. Yeah, there's 2 deals out there. Here's the and just in case you're interested. That's the product link for just the microserver by itself at $349. And then let me see if I can find the other deals here. So here's the link for the OCZ. Let me see if I can find that, John, by itself here. One sec. It's an OCZ Agility 3, 60 gig, SATA 3, solid state. It's got the SandForce SF2281 controller. Weighs 0.17 pounds. Pretty light.
Weird, huh? It doesn't want to come out more than that for some reason.
You're hooked on something in there.
Yeah.
So that is, while you're working on that, that's deal 1 that's going on right now with it. And again, that's $299. Comes with a 60 gig SSD drive. Well worth it, I think, for the $299. That'd be a price point that I would buy at. And then there's also one going on right now that is a combo deal at Newegg. It comes with the microserver and a copy of Windows Small Business Server 2011.
Yeah.
If you need that.
Yeah, because now you can still buy it, right? They sell the software by itself, right? It's available, Small Business Server 2011, just by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so. That deal's $700, so you're paying a premium. Oh, you got the board out. Good.
Yeah.
What was it hooked on?
I don't know.
Back it up just a smidge, John. So this is the one you pulled the memory out of, right?
Yeah. See, so that's it. You got the 2 empty memory slots up here.
Right.
You got your VGA out the back. See, so you got your VGA, you got your 2 USB, you got your network connection, you got eSATA. But apparently the eSATA is not like the Media Smart server. There, it's not port multiplier aware. So it's a bit like just a regular SATA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not the. That's
okay.
It's like the 485-47 would only read 1 drive, but the Media Smart 470 was port multiplier aware. It could read 4 drives, and on the HP 490, 495, and the 510 it could read 5 drives. But this guy could only read 1. So that's it. Hopefully, when they upgrade to, like you said, that the 54 chip, then they smarten up and they make this one a port multiplier. They bring you up to 5 drives.
Yeah, it would be nice. Gigabit Ethernet, right?
Yeah, at least they give you that. That's good.
Yeah.
See, and right up here, right up front, you have what do they call that? A Type 1 USB.
Right. It's slow.
So you can take your USB, stick like that, and just plug it in that slot, and then leave it permanently in there.
Right.
Like let's say if you have some drivers or something like that, Or what I actually do is I have my 8 gig stick, and I have Acronis installed on my version 1 server. So what I do is I back up right there. So I don't have to plug, always run around for my stick. Where did I put it? I have it there. When I do the backup of the version 1, since you can't back up the OS like you could with 2011, I plug this guy in there and I back up right there.
How big of a drive do you have in there, John?
In which one?
How big of that flash drive that you put in?
8 gigs.
8 gig, okay.
Yeah, I only need, I think my OS is 4 gig. No, I think I'm up to, I might be around 7 or 8 gig, because I have Active Directory. I have a bunch of stuff on the version 1 OS.
Yeah. And I'll say it again, Best Buy this week has 8 gig. I probably PNY or one of those brands, 8 gig for $8 flash drives. So if you're in need of it's PNY, one of these. One of those 8 gig, $8. Not a bad little deal.
It's cool. Yeah.
They had a ton of them too at my Best Buy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, because I've been waiting to get one. What are you selling?
They're like $15.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the SATA port, the one that's up front.
Yeah, and the battery is right there too, right? That kind of sits up. It sits upright, right? It's yeah.
So it's nice that they put it up front.
Right.
Because, in a couple of years, that's all, it's like come January 1st, it's like some of the advice I give to my friends there. It's like January 1st, change the battery on your server or on your PC.
It's a good idea.
Somebody ran into that problem just the other week is running, they're trying to install the connector for version 1 reinstall it on their PC, whatever. They did some upgraded their PC. So they install the connector software, and then you run the setup. And what happens is it says connecting. Anyway, it can't find the server. It was giving some kind of error. I forget what the error was. But basically, that's what the problem is, that the server, the date or the time zone on the server is different than what's on the PC. So then the connector software won't install completely. And the other hint was that the guy said 2 weeks ago, or a week or 2 weeks ago, he said, we had a power failure. Boom, as soon as the power failure, I heard that word, I said, the poly battery's dead, and, that's it. It's not keeping the right time, so there you go. So, yeah, you got to keep it. And even if it does catch, right, let's say if the power comes back and your server boots up, it might default to PST. And, I guess for all the Westerners, if you live on that side of the country, then you don't have these issues. But
right.
The Central and Eastern guys, they got all.
Don't forget a Mountain Time.
Mountain Time. There you go. Okay, sorry, Mountain guys too. Yeah, say that.
Yeah. John, that OCZ drive, $90 regular price if you buy it without the microserver. So, all right. So here's the deal, right? You figure when they put the deal together, this thing retails for $349. There's probably not a lot of margin in it to begin with, right? So they run a special on those things. Although to run a special at $249 kind of tells you maybe at $349 there's a lot of margin in that thing. Because they're running at $249. I'm sure they're throwing in the home server stuff, right? So we bought it at $250. They throw in the home server. So if you think that $250 is that base price point, and this OCZ is coming in at $90, so you're basically getting $40 off the OCZ drive, getting a 60 gig drive for $50. So not a bad little deal.
That's right. They have it priced like on the bottom. Don't they have like the window? They say if you buy it separate, this is the price.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's right now it retails for $90, and so you figure, if you're getting the server for $250 and the drive for $90, it's about a $40 savings on that drive. So it's not a bad. You're basically getting that drive and putting those two together at $299 would be ideal. Although, of course, the 60 gig I would use as my Windows 7 drive, because you have to do some fancy footwork like Fauché did to get Windows Home Server on a 60 gig drive using Acronis, I think is what he used.
Okay.
He compressed that down, right? Did you see that post that he did? Or when he talked about it? Yeah.
Yeah. one thing I did know, like the power supply is back there. It's a bit of a short one there. It's way back there, you know. So what happens if you actually wanted to, you know, let's say I think it's 150 watts or something like that. I mean, you know, they made it that it should power all these drives or whatever. If you wanted to add a bigger drive, a bigger power supply, you know, you could, like, you can add a longer one as long as it's the same form factor, you know. This is the power supply that came from my EX470, so it's a longer one.
Yeah, that is kind of.
It would actually, but it would still fit in there. Like, you know, if you put it in the case,
right.
Like it goes right out to the back, so like it'll fit. If you wanted to change the power supply, it'll fit, and it's the right form factor, right? It's the right, let's say, width and height.
But you're not going to get a regular power supply in there, right?
Oh, yeah, well, one of these, not those regular power supplies that are those square ones,
right?
You know?
Right.
But if you get this form factor power supply, like that's the one that's in there is about 2/3 the length. You know, it's about this size. So, but if you wanted to put the longer one, it'll fit, it'll work. And then this one is 300 watts. But again, you know, the one that's in there, it'll do the job. Just like I think the other case there, what's that one there? The one that like the Array 2 by Fractal design, where they give you like you can put 6 hard drives and a laptop drive, and then the motherboard, right, and all of that. And they give you this like little 300-watt power supply, and they say, you know, it's enough to do the job.
Yeah, oh, I'd agree.
So there you go.